Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of For the Par Mind Body Golf. So here we are, week 3. It is 2024 and 2024 just got very, very real. Let's jump into it. So I alluded to it a little bit on my 2024 goals video, how things have slightly changed and had to take a bit of a pivot in my life. And today we're going to dive into that a little bit. I've always said from the start of this channel that this will be a warts and all experience. So I think it's only fair that I give you that experience and tell you what's going on and why this is quite a tough video to make. I don't want this to be a woe is me video. In fact, I want it to be quite the opposite, because what I want you to get out of this is some real positive messaging and give you some insight into how I'm dealing with this somewhat of a challenging situation, and hopefully you can take away some of these examples or learnings and implement them into your own lives if you've got anything going on that's particularly hit you hard, especially in this new year. I want to preface this by saying that for the last 4 years, 4 years I'd say, my wife and I have always had something come up during the year that has posed a challenge, whether it be with her being historically not being a British citizen, having to go through her visa situation and sorting that out. That was a whole palaver in and of itself, through to very recently, where in December we found out that unfortunately my wife was being made redundant, which financially puts a strain on the household. And it's why in my 2024 goals video I talked about how I'm having to pivot away from having a full-blown golf membership at my country club and moving to making some decisions there. So keeping my gym membership versus my golf membership, as opposed to keeping them both, because that situation called for a decision to be made. Now that has evolved, unfortunately, and this is just why I say that 2024 has certainly started with a bang for me. I found out last week that my job is at risk of redundancy, and I think for all intents and purposes, obviously for legal reasons I can't guarantee this to be the case, but it's looking like redundancy will be the most obvious path out. So all of a sudden we've got 2 people who are living very comfortably down to a 0 income household. So it's gonna be interesting for sure, and that's partly why I'm creating this video today. I want to call that out and explain that is my situation right now, but moreover, what am I going to do about it? The other challenge I find myself in at the start of this year is a physical one. So as you all know, in my 2024 goals video I talked about high rocks being one of my key goals for the start of this year. I have had to make the very difficult decision to say straight away, by now the middle of January, that I'm not going to make it to high rocks in May. My knee is still nowhere near where I want it to be. I'm still having issues when I run. It can do absolutely everything else, which is awesome in one respect, but very annoying in the other. So just as recently as the weekend, I had given myself nearly 2 months, 6 weeks I think it was, of stepping off of my knee when it comes to running, and not doing any running or any high impact exercise on my knee. And I got 3k, maybe 3.5k through a run on a treadmill, not even out on the road. I wanted to minimize that impact as much as I could, and my knee started playing up again, to the point where the next day it was paining just to walk. And I've had to again take control of the situation and make a decision. Now, does that decision suck? Absolutely. I'm desperate to get high rocks done. I love the idea of the event. I love the event itself. But the reality is, right now in May, if I was to try and persist through and get to May and do high rocks, I would be putting in a subpar performance for myself. So what's the point? I would much rather postpone for now, make that call early, focus on other things, and I've started doing that. So I'm working with my coach slightly different way, again, because of the financial implications of what's going on. I've moved to an online coaching approach, but we're moving now this week, in fact, into a hypertrophy phase. So whereas before I've been focusing on strength gain and I've been seeing incredible results on that, we're moving more into a muscle building and composition phase. So yeah, it's just pivoting my focus for the time being. Keep working on trying to get my knee sorted. I'm really trying to venture down every avenue I possibly can to get that fixed, but controlling what I can and pivoting my working out based on requirement. And that requirement right now is that I don't run and I do things like cycling and as much lifting as I want, because once again, my knee, for whatever reason, is fine with all sorts of heavy lifting, but as soon as there's impact involved, it's game over. So those are the two challenges I'm dealing with at the moment, and now I'm going to talk about how I'm potentially looking to overcome them and some of the mantras, if you will, that I'm following in order to help myself through this particularly trying time. A lot of what I talk about today will have some loop back, and if any of you have studied any sort of philosophy or delved into that world at all, you'll know what I'm talking about. There will be some loose ties to Stoicism. Now, I actually didn't know that a lot of what I had preached in the past to people had some loose connections there. It was actually a colleague of mine who pointed out to me. What I'm going to do is talk through some of the approaches I'm taking and how it, I guess, loosely ties back to that. If you're interested and want to do some further research in Stoicism, obviously more power to you. But yeah, this is very much a for the par equivalency. First things first is this notion of eliminating toxic emotions. So, things like fear, hate, anger, hope. Hope's not necessarily toxic. I think hope can be a very positive thing, but obviously it can skew what you're thinking at the time. And I think one of the things that I really focused on when I found out the news that my employment was at risk is I need to be pragmatic about this. I need to try and stay as level-headed as possible. This is not a me thing. If it was just me in this company that's being made redundant, yeah, absolutely, I may have had a leg to stand on and probably would be quite angry or upset or whatever it happens to be. But I had probably, I don't know, a few hours where I was like, shit, this is scary, like that fear moment, and also anger, like, how the hell can they let me, or be thinking about letting me go, blah, blah, blah. But past that, I went straight into, okay, control what you can control and focus on what the next steps look like. So that's the first thing that I would call out is if you ever find yourself in this situation or in a situation whereby something just catches you completely off guard, take a minute to embrace whatever emotions come out, because they're totally valid. First and foremost, they are entirely valid. That being said, you do need to then switch on and go, okay, right, what is the solution here, or what is a path to a solution here? It's no good trying to do that whilst you're in a hyper emotional state. That emotional state may take longer or shorter depending on the type of person you are, so just bear that in mind. Don't rush into things, but also don't I struggle to say this, but don't dwell on things either. Both sides of that spectrum are going to impact you negatively in the short to medium, potentially even long term, so just bear that in mind. I try not get stressed about things I can't control, and there is a huge amount that I can control in this particular situation, but there's a whole load of variables that I have no control over. The first one being, am I going to have a job or not? That's not in my control. Or, sorry, should I say, I'm not going to have a job, or I am or I'm not going to have a job at my current employer. Now, what can I control? Well, first things first, I can come up with plans, right? So plan A would be wait and find out what's going on, and then, aim to secure another job as quickly and easily as possible. Plan B, which is a little bit more of a, nuclear option, let's call it, is I am genuinely considering saying, okay, I don't have a job right now, but I also have a son who is not at school yet, so we don't have huge ties and restrictions there? And are we realistically going to have an opportunity to go and explore the world with him at a young age again until, past the time he's 18, 21, out of university? Probably not. So plan B is get the hell out of Dodge and go explore the world. So, what I have done here is I've taken something that is entirely uncontrollable, which is finding out I'm potentially being made redundant, and taking an element of control over that, controlling what the outcome looks like in terms of how I respond to the outcome. During times like this, try and focus inwardly. Now, it's very easy, especially in the scenario I'm going through, to look externally and go, oh, this is why it's happening, blah, blah, blah. But quite frankly, it may not be that at all. 2, it doesn't really serve you any personal benefit just harping on or thinking about anything that is outside of you at that time. So make sure you're focusing on you. Look at, okay, where am I at right now? And depending on my situation, do I need to do X, Y, or Z to get me out of this situation or to progress forward? The key note here is remain within yourself. Don't look for external factors or external, things that could implicate why this thing that's happened to you has happened. I'm going to keep going on about the example that I'm in right now. I could easily go on about the company that I work for and why it's potentially put itself in this situation, but what benefit do I gain from that? It is what it is. I can only control what I'm doing right now, so make sure that you are focusing inward and focusing on yourself. I want to move on from the core example of today's video and move into a more holistic approach, I guess. So I want to talk about how you need to continue and be persistent through this. Whatever it is that you're going through, whatever challenge that you have going on at that time or at this time, persist through. This is not going to be a constant. It will be something that has occurred for a period of time, and you need to persist through it. Now, if you are on a fitness journey, like I am right now, I'm going through multiple journeys. I'm going through a fitness journey, a mental journey, and a golf journey. But if you're going through any of those journeys and suddenly you have a momentary lapse, let's call it, that is not forever. That is a moment in time. Let it happen, embrace it for that moment, and then go back to persisting at what you have been doing successfully and continue on your journey. On Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever it was, when I found out the news, I said to my wife, do you know what? I want a fish and chips because I'm upset and I feel like that will make me feel a little bit happier. So what did we do? We grabbed a fish and chips. Cool, no problem. Did I have the calories for it that day? Absolutely not, because I'd eaten already my breakfast and lunch. Did it matter? Absolutely not, because in that moment, my emotions were upset, scared, annoyed, and I wanted to have something that potentially would make me feel a little bit better. Now, using food as a comfort, maybe not optimal. However, in that situation, my brain told me that's what I needed. Okay, cool. What did I do the next day? Went straight back to plan. Had my breakfast, had my calories as per usual, and continued that through to now. I haven't had another dirty takeaway since. And that's what it means by persisting. These eventualities will come up. Life isn't perfect. Life has curveballs that come in on a regular basis. As I've mentioned at the start of this video, my wife and I, every year without question, have had a curveball of some description. Varying in complexity level. This one is probably about as high a complexity level as you could ask for, but they come and you need to persist through, because your journey relies on you being persistent and resisting that urge to just go back to old habits, to eat junk food every day, to not focus on your self-improvement and just sit and fester on the couch watching Netflix, whatever it happens to be. Obviously these are just examples, but you need to persist. It is the only way that you make it through this and continue on your journey to success. Last but certainly not least, you have got this. Every single one of you that watches this video has something about you that makes you you and makes you special. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. If you are going through any sort of situation, similar to mine or otherwise, just remember that everything that makes you who you are is why you have got to where you are today, and why you're going to get to where you want to be in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months time. You have everything inside of you that you need to achieve your goal. Now, would I suggest continuing to use platforms like this and other influencers or books or any form of content that you can take in to help you on your journey? Absolutely. But fundamentally, you have got this. You are the reason that you started this journey. You are the reason that you will continue this journey. And you are the reason that you will eventually see your goal come past, and you will pass and excel it. It is all in you. Remember that. I know a lot of this probably felt a little bit cliched and, short, sharp sentences of inspiration or whatever. And if it came across that way, I do apologize. That's not the idea. I think part of this is me hyping myself up as well, because it's easy to say these things, but actually doing them is sometimes a lot harder. And I want to make sure that I'm sharing with you all what I'm going through, but also to hopefully allow you to take away some things that you may be able to use as you move into a particularly challenging time, or maybe even just the next phase of your journey. But I really hope that you can take away some of the lessons today. Like I say, these are not unique to me. These are things that have clearly been in history for hundreds of years at this point. But it's just how I have approached things and how I am trying to overcome what is right now a rather tough time in my life. So yeah, take away what you will from this video. I really appreciate you getting this far through. If you are new here and you like this type of content, this is a little bit different to all the other videos on my channel, but if you are enjoying this content, please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to build a community here to have a conversation, to help each other. It's not about me, it's about making sure that we are there for one another. And again, going back to what I was saying about surrounding yourself with like-minded people, or people that are there to support and care for you, that's what this community needs to be. We need to crowd around each other when we're going through tough times and help each other through. So without anything further being said, I've been Alex. This has been For the Par Mind Body Golf, and I'll see you in the next video.